Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on ABAP on HANA training. In the last episode of ABAP on HANA training, we looked at different possibilities of how ABAP meets HANA and what is that which we all can do in the new system with ABAP on HANA. We talked about the SQL, the SAP Code Inspector tool, and available data variants to be able to analyze issues, potentially discover something before really getting into the production or migrating to a HANA database. What is that could harm into the HANA DB when you are migrating to HANA DB? So we looked at both performance DB and functional DB variants, how to execute them and provide the results to safeguard your custom code before migrating to HANA database. We looked at, yes, performance DB really helps you. We looked at the performance DB guidelines, and sometimes your developers would probably not meet these guidelines and they would end up writing some code which could hamper your performance. However, when it comes to the findings which you have, you cannot go ahead and start improving everything from day one, because maybe, for example, you found 10,000 or 20,000 findings in terms of performance. You still not know which are all the top findings which would help you to really gain a good performance improvement overall in your production until you have the usage statistics, until you have statistics about consumption, how your end users are consuming it, how much percentage of code they are using it, which are all the topmost reports which they are consuming it. So once you get that information, it would be helpful for you to prioritize what should be looked at first and improved first, rather than just simply start improving everything, which is practically impossible. At the same time, it's important to understand that the test data which you use in development and quality system are less as compared to the production system. Production system, if you look at a typical production system, 50,000 concurrent requests per minute, 130,000 SQL statements, 12 billion select requests in a day, 140 billion records are modified on every single day. That's the scale of a typical big enterprise which is having their business across the world, and it could be even bigger than this. The challenges now for a developer is to find out the top priority list or the programs which really are the potential candidate for performance improvement. There are tools available in system like ST05 and SAT, which when you run it in the production system would lead to overhead on the system. And as a result, you have to switch off these tools in the production. Even your basis will not allow you to run these tools in production. Next comes is STAD and ST03 tools. These are again system level tools which are used by basis to get aggregated performance at high level. Won't tell you this query level analysis, that which query is causing a performance overhead. However, if you look at a typical program, you would have lots of different queries written into it, but you may not know which is the potential query which is causing this issue. Then ST04, which does give you the comprehensive data, but it won't tell you the program which is causing this select statement to be triggered. What is the entry point? Or it could so happen that one select query was made a call by multiple entry points. For example, a function module is calling the select query. At the same time, another function module is also using a similar select query again. So that's also an important aspect to look at. So until we really look into the productive data, the production system, we should not be able to judge what is the right state or what is the right program and SQL queries which are being used the most in the system. So here what we're trying to find out, our main goal, what is our goal as a developer or as an architect in the team? Our goal is to find out the potential candidates which are good candidates for performance improvement. So very first goal what we want is which of the program, which of the business process, it could be a transaction, it could be a report, it could be a BAPI, it could be a function module, could be anything which takes the most of the time in my production system. Next, what is the SQL profile of my main business process? Yeah, so your company is using create sales order transaction the most. You know that already. Your users are telling you we use VA01 the most, or maybe we are using a Z transaction the most. So based on looking at that most used transaction, you want to know what is the SQL profile of that transaction or that report, and that too at the statement level. So within an entry point within a program, you want to know what are all the different SQL statements which have been executed, and which statement out of these multiple statements executed is taking the most of the time. Then a different perspective of the data, you would also interested to know the most expensive SQL statement in your production system, and which business process is triggering the same. Yeah, which is the business process which is causing the trigger to this most expensive SQL statement in my custom report, custom program. Again, I repeat, we are not concerned about standard. We are only concerned about our custom development. So this analysis, the whole idea of doing this analysis should be focusing on the custom development. Clear? Now, but the question is sometimes it may be necessary for you to also give some statistical data for standard programs or a standard report. You can also use this tool for that purpose. That's the beauty of this tool. It works both for standard and custom programs and reports. Okay. Now, which process runs a huge number of SQL statement and work with lot of data? Yeah. Which of the business process works with most of my production load, most of my production load, and process huge number of data records, and then probably most often executed SQL statement. These are all the questions which we need to answer in order to find out the top usage in our program, top usage in our application. And that's why we have a tool available in SAP NetWeaver. This tool is available from SAP NetWeaver 7.21 onwards. And the tool name is SQL Monitor, SQLM, SQL Monitor. So there are two aspects of this tool. The very first aspect is administration. Any tool which is a performance tool you use in SAP, you have to start the trace. You have to trigger a trace by activating the tool. You need to activate the tool and tell the system, hey, I would like to now perform the test results. I want to trace. I want to start trace. And that's what you got to do using administration part. The T code for this is SQLM. So here is where you activate the trace. Now the beauty of this tool, the advantage of using this tool, you can activate, you can run this both for standard and custom programs, custom packages, I would say. You can activate the tool in certain server or for all servers. You can download the result. That's the best part of it. And port them and keep them as a backup for future reference or analysis on a different system. Yeah, it is possible for also make use of the dump which you download. It's not the technical st22 dump. I'm talking about the snapshot which you've taken. Yeah, you can download it, give it to your core developer for analysis, give it to your application developers who are experts in their respective areas for analysis, and you can also port this data to a different system. That's exactly you can do. Yeah. Now this tool will tell you all the different aggregation levels, so it you can look at the results, look at the results of the tool from multiple angles. Yeah, from different perspective to answer all these different questions. So you see, these all questions are just perspectives, different perspective by looking at the data. One perspective, I am interested to know most expensive SQL statement. Another perspective is to look at a report which is the most expensive, which is firing or taking most of the time in the production. So there is a data, and now how do you sort the data? How do you aggregate the data? How do you look at the data with what perspective is what matters, and that's what exactly this tool is best in, to be able to give you that perspective of the same data. Yeah. Now, what is the typical approach when it comes to any S4 HANA project or any project before you migrate to HANA DB? The typical workflow or the path which you have to use is find, explore, sorry, explore, yes, find, improve, and explore. This is the approach you will take in any course, sorry, any of the migration, where you first have to find where are the issues, where are I have done, my developers have done bad programming using performance DB, using functional DB variants, using code inspector. You got to find out the results in production system, and then you need to look at improvement aspects. But it's not like something which you go and say, okay, improve everything. You may not know that the program which you're touching and improving is hardly used in the production. There is hardly one or two user who work with that program out of 50,000 user you have it. So your effort has to be justified to your manager and to your company. If you say, I am going to improve my custom program, which is not at all used, that does that really help you in production improvement of performance? Answer is no. So you really need to prioritize what is important and what is in your control. Yeah, so that's what this SQL monitor tool will help us, and then you can explore a lot of new opportunities, find one again, activate the deactivate the trace and see what else you can improve. Yeah, so that's a continuous improvement process. Typically the performance improvement starts well before migration, to at least for you to know that what is the current state of the system before migration. The second part to this transaction, SQLMD, which stands for SQL Monitor Data, where you can analyze the data. You can also take a snapshot, as I mentioned. You can take a snapshot of this data and store it in your local computer. And later on, you can open that snapshot in any ABAP system. Now, this tool is available from 7.21 onwards. However, there are some improvements which have been done is in SAP NetWeaver 7.4. So in SAP NetWeaver 7.4, SP2 onwards, sorry, SP5 onwards, what the tool also provides now you is to total request execution time. So in NetWeaver 7.4, they have provided this another option. Another thing which they improve with NetWeaver 7.4 SP8 is what they are providing now, a time series analysis. So you have a data dumped into the system, and you know that exactly during second half of the day I was having the maximum load on the system, and I want to like do the analysis for, let's say, that 15 minutes or that 20 minutes or one day. Yeah, so that time frame is what you can actually give with NetWeaver 7.4 SP8 onwards, the time series analysis is also available. So you can see SAP is improving on this tool on every release. And that's why it has become so popular with NetWeaver 7.4 and S4 HANA to help you getting the analysis. Now, what's so important with this tool? Why do SAP promoting this tool as compared to other tools? So we saw the disadvantages of these. Major disadvantage was an overhead created on production system, which would not let your basis guy permit or basis guy convince to start activation of these tools in the production system, because it will slow down the performance of your production. However, how actually this particular tool works, what is so special about it? So let's quickly understand how exactly it works. So whenever you are as a user connects to an SAP system and run a program, you are connected to an SAP system. Let's say this is your SAP system, you connected. System creates something called an external session. And now there are total 8 external sessions which are allowed at a time with one logon. So you see, this is one external session which I am running. This is second external session. This is third external session. This is fourth external session. So these are all external sessions. Now, within each external session, which is within each session, we also have something called an internal session. Okay, we have something called internal session. Internal session is like when you execute a function module. Okay, so you called a function module or you called a report. Now, this report then calls a function module. So this function module is now being called, and all these are executed in internal ABAP sessions. So the memory which is allocated will be, so for your report execution, when you start the report which is calling the function module, system creates one internal session, and then again for function module and its function group, it creates another internal session behind the scenes. Now, this tool actually relies on the memory allocated by internal session. So whenever you make a call to a report which makes a call to a function module, and that function module is triggering a query, what this tool does is it collects the data and it doesn't store into the database immediately. In the 3-tier architecture, you see this whole thing is happening in your application layer. Okay, so what it does is when a query is being hit, okay, what your SQL monitor tool does, SQLM, what it does, it stores the data about hitting this query in the internal session memory itself. So this is your internal session memory. It stores the data here in this memory itself. And when the internal session is being destroyed, it put this data from internal session memory to the SAP shared memory, which is a shared memory across external sessions. And once, let's say, external session is destroyed, or let's say it is not even destroyed, what they do actually is there is something called a batch report which runs in the background asynchronously. That's what is more important, guys. It's an asynchronous report. Asynchronous means it is running completely as a different thread in the application layer, which will not hamper any performance of your, which will not impact any running process of your application layer. So what they do is they first try to store this information in internal session about a query, and next time when this query is again called in same internal session, they keep this data in internal session only. Once the internal session memory is exhausted or it is being closed, the data gets transferred to internals, external, between external session, which is shared memory. So this is your shared memory. And once this is exhausted, then in that case, it is sometime written into some swap files. And what SAP does behind the scenes, they have a background job which keeps on running as synchronous background job, which keep updating this data and keep storing this information finally in the database. Okay. So this is a sync point. It's an asynchronous report which won't hamper. So that's what is the main beauty of this tool. It won't hamper your performance or cause a very, very little overhead on your application. It doesn't cause much overhead on your application in running functionality. So this tool is safe to run in production system. There is a very good document about this tool published by SAP. I have already uploaded this document which explains the complete functionality of this tool. What does it mean? How does it work? Everything is explained in this. This document is also uploaded in our training blog. If those who are interested to go so deep into it, maybe you can go ahead and look at this document over here. I think I've uploaded. Let me just see. Yes, here it is. You see, I've uploaded this document over here. However, we are now going to go to the system and try to find answers of our questions. So what I did today our S4 server is not working. Somebody have messed up with our HANA DB. They have activated some logging in SAP HANA system, and because of that the complete system is down. So I'm working in close with our colleagues to try to fix that up. So however, as a backup today I'm using the cal server. I've already started my cal instance and you can see it's already running over here, and I have a couple of report programs in this cal server which I'm now executing to collect some data. So what I did is I came to transaction sqlm, and then I have activated this trace over here. Click on all server. I've activated in all server. Okay, with this you can see it tells me that the my user developer have activated this trace in the system, and now I can go back and deactivate and check the data in the system. So after activation only you should run your reports for which you would like to do this. The question comes in your mind that Anubhav, what is the best suitable time? Should we activate in night? Answer is no. You should actually activate when the load on the system is high, which is the most critical phase of your production usage. So for example, a month end run, that is the time the performance of your system is most important for you. So that's the time you should activate the trace, so you get real data which can really safeguard you next time in the next month your performance run or your year or month end run happens. That time, um, you by the time you already have done some improvement in the programs which were used in the last month end run. So the most critical business time, whenever it is, activate this before that. The typical time frame we keep the tool up and active is about a week or 10 days. Okay, so usually you don't run it for the whole month. Probably in the phase, in the project phase where you have the most critical time, for a week or for 10 days, maybe the month end or something, you activate. However, as an ABAP developer or as an architect, you don't have authorization to be able to run or activate this trace. You need to convince your basis guy to be able to use it. Your basis guy may not have an idea about it, so you have to showcase this document which is published by SAP, telling him that you can trust this tool, SQL Monitor tool, and it won't cause any overhead on our production system. Can activate this into the server. Okay, production server can also have multiple servers, of course, yes, because you have done a load balancing and because of that you have a multiple application server. You want to collect ideally the data from all application server, because you don't know when the load balancer balances the load, when a request comes to the main message server, which application server it will get redirected. You don't want to miss out data from any of the system, any of the load balancing server. So that's the reason we should activate it in all servers. Okay, you can also, you can see there's a button here to select the server. You can choose the server in which you would like to activate this. Okay, can we run this based on T code or based on user? You cannot run it based on T code or based on user. It is a system level tool. It's available at application server level, and if you do it, then the whole purpose goes away. Actually, if you want to run it based on a T code, the whole purpose goes away, because you want to know out of all the transaction codes in the entire system, or out of all the reports and BAPIs and background programs in the entire system, which is the most used, most expensive one. You want to do a comparative analysis actually, and for that it has to be done and activated at system level. I would recommend you to activate in all servers. Okay. With that, let's move on and let's see if some data has been produced by far in my server. So I have activated it about an hour ago and executed some really bad report programs where I've done bad programming, bad custom coding. And then what it does is actually it is collecting all the data. Actually, during that point of time when you're running this, it also collects the information about standard programs and standard reports. So don't worry that you only do it for custom or standard. It actually, it's a system level trace. It traces everything, but you can filter the results which you want to see at your custom code level by giving your package name, because of course you are more interested at your data of your custom code, because you anyways can't touch the standard custom code. Your basis guy or performance guy specifically may be interested in standard data to go back to SAP and inform SAP to correct something. However, when it comes to the custom code, we are responsible for custom code, so we are only focusing here in this use case for our custom code to look at the data. So let me now just quickly go. So I think it's been running since a quite while. I'll just stop it. So I just stop everywhere. I think ample amount of executions I've done to collect some data. Let me just reconnect to my ABAP server and just go back. And this is the cal server, guys, not our s4 server. However, same can be done in s4 server. I don't recommend you to activate in our s4 server. Just look at the data now. So I go to this favorites which I already added. So you can also use transaction code sqlm, click on, press enter, and now you can see the trace is already up and running. Yeah, and number of time series records is 4972, and I can also show you the server which is in the cal is already, I think, on 7.5, which is above 7.4 sp8. So time series data is also available in this server. You can see time series records. Yeah, now I click on deactivate. So I'll say deactivate this. Now this has been deactivated and it has executed for about an 2 hour or hour before. So I was executing it since like kind of evening, um, about 2 hours, and during that 2 hours I've executed massive number of reports. And let's go and check if it really now shows me some useful information for me to analyze what what's going on in this system. Let's diagnose the data which it has produced and try to find out answers of our open questions which we have in our mind. What is that we can achieve from this tool? These are all our open questions, so we'll try and compare it according to that. So now I come back, and I can also click on directly here display data, or directly go to SQLMD transaction. We can also say display data me here itself. So I say display, and now you have to give a time interval, since what time to what time you want to display the data. So I put today's date with about a 1.5 hour of time frame. So you can see this is the time interval which you can now specify with NetWeaver 7.4 SP8 onwards. And now I will say the very first question is, which is the business process which takes the most of the time in my production system? So let's come back and look at the perspective of the data. So I want to now sort it based on total number of DB execution time, because that's the most expensive or most used one probably. And then I'll say by the request, okay, or I want to say by the source code position. That gives me the entry point, which is the program, or which is the transaction code, or which is the function module or a background job, which was an entry point being the most expensive in the system. So I'll choose total DB execution time, sort it, order it by this, and aggregate my results by position, by the reports, by the transactions, by the programs. Yeah, and I'll say execute. And yeah, you see some data available here. However, I'm more and more interested on something like my Z programs, my Z reports. So how can I do that? So I can just come back, and now what I can do is I can put my package name as well here. So I say only $tmp is right now I'm interested. So don't show me standard ABAP programs, standard ABAP reports, which has taken a lot of time. I'm more interested on my custom development. Execute, and now you see some data over here which it has produced along with the entry point. Now you see actually not ample amount of data for us to analyze. However, let me just go back and see if I can show you some data of past month which I had also accumulated in the system. So let me just quickly try and put like 10th of January. Maybe if I have some data in the system since that time to this time, And once again, same criteria. And yes, I have a lot of data now. You can see this is all my Z reports, my Z development which I've done, and sorted by the total db time. You see total db time, how much total db time. This is the most expensive entry point of your production system, your Z report. Why performance db check? Okay, this is the most expensive. You see this has taken the most of the database consumption, most of the database resources in your Z package, in your custom development. It has done total, this was the total time it has taken, and how many times it has hit the database is 3000, I think 33 lakh 6, no 36 lakh 94,481 times it has made a database call to underlying database, and it has totally fetched these many records in the system. Now, one interesting point to note on this data is DB mean time. What is DB mean time? DB mean time is the time taken by a single query in this program. It's an average or a mini or an average time taken by one query. So you can see DB mean time in this case is very low. What does it mean? The query which you have written is probably not taking that much of time, but since the number of executions are high, this program is taking the most of the time. However, if you come down and look at this one, you see the DB mean time for this query is 63,938. Now all these time are in milliseconds, guys. So you see DB time relatively very higher, which means the query itself has an issue. This query itself is taking the most of the time. One query is taking too much of time. So even the number of executions are less, still the overall time got high. Now you see already it is sorted. So now by looking at this, you know what are all your top priorities, what are all your top programs which you would probably target. So first one, which this is the one which you would probably definitely want to target. Yeah. And you see now DB mean records, with one single fire of query, it is retrieving 1,000 records actually. And then it's a program. The object type is a program. It's not a background job. It's not a submit report, or sorry, it's not a background job, neither a BAPI or not a function group. It's a program. It's a BAP report. And now you see the source of the fragment. So ABAP source, you can now, if you want to see drill down, you want to see what are all the queries inside of this program and which is the query which is the culprit. Okay, so what you can do is you can double click on the record, and now it drills down and tells you within this program you may have like 20, 30, 40 queries. Now which are all these queries which are causing the most expensive call for you? Okay, and this is the query, actually it is also showing you here, this is the query which is taking the maximum time. Yeah, this is the query which is taking the maximum time. However, if I just want to not look at the data from the perspective of query, I want to look at the data perspective of request. So I can come here and I can say total number of DB execution and sorted by request. Okay, so sorted by request, which means entry points. So I can again execute this, and now you see these are all the entry points. Once again, this report has taken the maximum time, and you see this is the report program. Okay, sorry, I by mistake clicked it. This is the report program which is taking the maximum time. And you see, however, there are something called a transaction code also, which is also taking a lot of time. But you see, this is the one which is taking the maximum time. Now inside of this report, I have multiple queries. Yeah, I have a query to, let's say, business partner table. I have a query to sales order table. I have a query to maybe a currency table. Now which is that query which is causing the most expensive calls? That also you can get to know, which is an answer of our second and third question. So you can see which is the, what is the ASQL profile of your business process, most expensive business process. So as you know that this is coming on the top, this is the most expensive business process, and which is the query now inside which is taking the maximum time. So I can double click now, and now it shows me all the queries inside of this, and which is the query and which database table is involved in that query which is taking the maximum time. You can see again, first one, there are queries on invoice header, product table, but this one, this particular table, when it is hitting, is taking the maximum time. So you know, within the program, if you have like 50, 60 SQL statements, you also know now prioritizely, or which is the top SQL statement which is causing this this issue for you, right? So that's the kind of analysis you can really do it with the SQL Monitor tool. Very, very effective. You can see, yeah, number of records are very high, number of DB executions, and actually these two queries are the culprit which are taking the most of the time. So let's go and check why probably this is taking time. Maybe let's see some ABAP experience. Does it really make sense to investigate? So I double click now, and now I'll just go and check, see what could have gone wrong. And you see there is a subroutine called check items, and in this query has been called. Now what does the total mean time indicates? Mean time indicates that this query is not taking too much of time, and that's what exactly true. It's a select single. Select single means I'm just reading one record, which won't take much time. The DB mean time is very less. However, if you carefully observe this check item, if you do control F and search, it's called in a subroutine, and that subroutine was called again and again and again in a select and select, which is a loop. So typical case of hitting database again and again and again. If you remember our last unit, our last discussion, multiple calls to database. That's the guideline it is violating. Again and again and again, you're hitting the DB. It's actually select and select is a loop. Inside this loop, you are calling this subroutine, and this subroutine is that firing a query on the database. Just taken the most of the time in your production system. What you should do to improve this? Anyone? What is that good programming practice in ABAP which we use to avoid such a looping on the data? Anybody? Any ABAPer in the room? Yes, perfect answer, Bhaskar. It's for all entries. But now coming to another point, guys, there is a disadvantage of using for all entries. Can anybody tell me what is the disadvantage of reading with for all entries? No one? No, no. Forget about code push down at the moment. I'm talking about purely from ABAP point of view. What is the disadvantage? Yes, perfect. I got my desired answer, and I think it was from Roja. Let me explain you guys what's the problem which will happen when you use for all entries, and if you do this mistake, it's going to be havoc for you in your company. So let's imagine there is a sales order table. Okay, there is a sales order table, and this sales order table has 20 billion sales orders. Okay, and this has something called an order ID, and it has something called a characteristic called, maybe let's say, user who created this sales order. Okay, now what happens? Let's say you have billions of orders now in this, and there is a user ID x x y y something, and now there is another DB table where you are maintaining the user IDs. Okay, you're maintaining the user IDs and the user's team name. So I'll say user X belongs to team A, user Y belongs to team A, user Z belongs to team A, user um, you know K belongs to team B, user L belongs to team B, user S belongs to team B. Now my requirement in my company to write a Z program in which the use case was get the employee of team A and get all sales order of that team. Very fair requirement. Now, typically, if you write a bad ABAP program, you would say loop at this internal table team, which is this guy here, this gentleman. You loop at the team, and then you'll say select star from orders table where employee ID is equals to your employee ID from the team table. That's what you do, and loop. And in this here you will put a where clause where your team name is something like X or sorry, A. A is my team name. So now what will happen? User pass the team name A. It comes here. It only loops through the team members of team A, and then in this loop you are actually firing a select, which is also bad. multiple DB calls, violation of guideline. Problem number one. To solve this problem, now you use for all entries. So you will say delete entry from itab where team name is not equals to A. Now your itab is left over only with, or team name is not equals to A, left over with only employees of team A. These three records you have left over in this table. And then you say select your orders from orders table for all entries in itab where user is equals to itab hyphen user, right? Fair enough. Hope all of you understand for all entries syntax in ABAP. This is my assumption because you are all seems to be ABAPer for ABAP on HANA. I assume all the ABAPers in the room. So you all understand for all entries. This is not ABAP on HANA. This is something as a basic ABAPer you should know. If not, please subscribe to my ABAP training. All of that is taught in ABAP training for basics. Now the problem. Let's say this is your custom table, user table. You deleted all the team member for A. Now when this runs, it will also delete all the entries from here. The moment your itab becomes empty, this select statement creates havoc. What happens? Itab is empty. It becomes a select order ID from order table. That's it. It will fetch all 20 billion records from sales order table. All 20 billion records it will fetch from sales order table. That causes performance havoc, and many times I've seen in companies, one of the company which I visited for improving their performance, they were implementing S4 HANA OP, and they were having, a report program which they were running, and it used to take about 3 hours, and they were running it in a background job actually, because on dialogue work process the maximum timeout is about like 30-40 minutes what basis set. So this program never used to run on the back foreground, so they were running it as a background report. And they called me Anubhav. Just I was talking to this guy, this manager. He was saying we also have some bad reports which takes a lot of time. Can you give me some hints how to improve it? So I was just, casually we were talking, and then I opened SQL Monitor in the system, and then I told him, okay, let me see what I can do it. And then I just went ahead and activated and deactivated next day, and I found that this report was taking a lot of time, this background job. And then the other day I looked into the code and I did a performance DB code inspector check on that package. I found the same report in code inspector finding, and the finding was usage of for all entries statement without if condition. This was the finding, and it was really causing an overhead. It was reading 32 million records from the table because their internal table which they were using for all entries was empty every time. And these things you cannot guess in development system. In quality also you can't find these things because data is the cause of this issue. In production data is different, quality and development data is different. When you go to production, you don't know what data you have in your custom table based on which you're doing for all entries. And just in case, any case, by any chance your internal table is empty, it's gonna unnecessarily fetch all records from the table for where you applied for all entries. So the best practice, use for all entries, put an if condition. If itab is not initial, then only do this for all entries, otherwise don't do it. So this is what I got it added, and believe me, the report which was taking about 3 hours, it got finished in 20 minutes. It was a big like financial run. It finished in 20 minutes, and now they're so happy even they can run this report in foreground mode. They don't need to run schedule a background job for it. Their developers can run them in production productively using a T code, using SE38. Yeah. So that's what exactly the SQL Monitor has helped this one of the customer with whom I visited. Is just a casual talk, really not was getting into the game of improving performance for them, but just utilize little bit of expertise and got a very good user experience about it. Yeah. So remember guys, and this is something which other tools would not be able to tell you, because they can tell you that this SQL statement is taking, let's say, 29 hours, but it won't tell you the entry point. You have to now go, like people were saying st05, you got to now search where this SQL statement is in your packages. Okay. SQL trace won't give you the entry point information, guys, like SQL Monitor is giving you. Entry point is important. You need to know which is the entry point causing this overhead on the system. Okay, so that's exactly what we needed. And you can see here the same thing, replace it with all entries would definitely improve the performance. Definitely a bad programming example with a loop and inside a loop calling a select query. Let's come back. So you can see we are also now able to judge the most expensive entry point. Yeah, the most expensive SQL statement in your production system you are able to find, and which process works with the most of your production load. And that's also we were able to find it with the top priority, top execution time. And then now look at the most oftenly executed SQL statement. So let's come back. I just go a little back, and I go back, and now I'll say give me the result based on its source code position, and based and order it by db execution time or number of db records this time. And then I'll say execute. So now it'll give me direct select statements. So these are all the select statements which are the top select statements in my system. And you see total number of db time and total number of db records. So this is the guy who fetched the maximum number of db records in my company. You see db mean time is also very high. Let's look at and investigate what is this guy doing. Why EPM plain vanilla? I don't know what is it doing. Double click, it will directly take you to the report, to the select query where exactly it's happening. It's happening in line number 80. And you see what we are doing here. We are writing a select query, and inside the select query we are doing some currency conversion. Oh my god. And then we are doing end select. So this is actually a loop. This is once again a loop. Select and select always is a loop, guys. It fetches one by one record from database, and it does a currency conversion for every single record. And this currency conversion taking huge time, and that's why its database process is waiting for the next record to fetch. It fetches the next record, though the number of executions are less. But since this whole process takes a lot of time, loop and loop kind of process, it takes a lot of time. Then this is the most critical SQL statement in your system to be looked at. Entry point means the program which is causing the problem. Entry point is nothing but the program which caused triggered this query. Okay, so this is the entry point. Here in this case, this is the entry point. Why EPM01 vanilla is the entry point. This is the culprit. This is the program you need to target. And probably now what we do, this runtime data we want to combine with our code inspector data of performance DB. So that makes more sense now. So on one side you have code inspector data which is saying ki bhaiya you have used four entries, you did not use if condition. You are writing select and select, you are not using joins. Yeah, you are writing select and select, you are not using internal table. Yeah, you're not doing a batch operation. You're doing an insert, but you are not doing a batch operation. You are putting a loop and doing an insert inside the loop. Yeah, all these are code inspector findings, but it won't tell you which is to improve first, because which is most used, that code inspector won't tell you. So now you've got the data which is the most used one, which is the most expensive one, which is the most expensive and most used queries in the system. So now you can really go and combine these results, all these results of SQL Monitor together with your code inspector, and see what can you derive out. You can derive out your actual backlog item of what should be improved exactly. That's what you can derive out. So let's come back, and now just gonna take a snapshot. So I'll just quickly go back. So we looked at the data from different perspective, and as I told you, you can download this result now. So usually this analysis of code inspector and this performance, they are all done in a single system, and production system is not the right system. You don't run code inspector in production system. So this runtime data now you got to download and take it to your development system, guys. So let me download this data. So I can say display snapshot. Sorry, I can directly say export the data. and I can now say export the data for my local object $tmp. Yeah, all the data you got to export, and then I can say export only top records or whatever selection I want. I can choose that however I want everything. So I'll say export it, whatever data you have it for my $tmp, export it, and it creates a zip file now. And I'll save this zip file on my desktop. You can also store it, keep it with you for lifetime, and that's something which is a very good thing. And you see it transferred all the data. Now I go to my development system, and there I will now do an analysis of these performance data which I got from production, yeah, together with my code inspector results, to find out key what could have been improved, what is the code inspector also telling, and what is this SQL monitor data is also telling me to look at. So both the perspective I get it in single transaction, which is known as SWLT, SQL performance tuning worklist. So it's about tuning now. You got the data, runtime data and design time data, your programs data and your runtime consumption data, join them together and get a real preview on what should be improved first, what should be your target, what is your backlog for performance improvement. Of course your backlog depends on what was the most used one, what was taking the most time. And at the same time code inspector also found a finding there saying that boss, there's something wrong, you got to really work upon. So now both of these results you can combine using SWLT, SQL performance tuning worklist transaction code. So let me note down the T code here. So SWLT, why you use it? SQL worklist, SQL performance tuning worklist. So this gives you list of work. That's why called work list. This will tell you what is your work, what you should improve. Let's go ahead. We'll use this snapshot downloaded from production system. I'll switch to my development system and I will go to transaction SWLT, SWELT. And now I can come here. This is my dev system. I came to my dev systems. Yeah. And now what I'll do is I can now choose a snapshot of my static checks. Yeah. So I can say, you see already there's some data selected on 4th of February. Yeah. And then I can choose my SQL monitor data. This was also selected on 4th of February. Some data I've selected. So both the snapshots you can choose. So you can perform a SQL code inspector check and you can say select code inspection check, and then you come to SQL monitor and you can also select your snapshot of your performance data. Both you selected now. And once again you can here do this aggregation what you saw on the previous transaction. You can do that here based on number of execution or time or records. I want to do it based on number of db execution, or maybe based on time which took the maximum time. I want to do aggregation based on that. With that, let's execute. And now watch out, it will give you the prioritized work list. So see, this is the first program, y demo EPM aggregation. In this program we are doing, there's something being done. Okay, and you see here what is happening. The db execution time is this much, total number of db time is highest amongst all. It's hitting an scar table. And y demo EPM, and what was the code inspector finding? Double click on the left side. On the right left side it shows you the finding from the runtime tool, and on the right side it tells you the finding from the code inspector. And you see search problematic select star statement, existence check no field in use. So you are reading a data from a database table. Okay, you're reading certain columns but none of the columns you are using in your program. Does it make sense? You fire a db table, you fetch some columns, and those columns which you fetch you're not at all using them in your program. Does it make sense to fire such a query, guys? Does it make sense to fire such a query where you read some data and you don't even use that data in your ABAP program, right? Of course, no. This is what this developer have done in the system, and that's actually causing an overhead on database with the maximum total DB time. Let's look at this program. I can double click now on the right side. It directly takes me to the program, onto the line number exactly where this is being happening. And you see this is the query. You see select star from scar table, and none of this SCare field, LTSCare, nowhere this LTSCare is used. See, I do control as F. It is not able to tell me a single place where this SCare is being used. This query, and that too inside select and select. This query was fired. This is the culprit. Immediately delete this query. It will give you great improvement in your production. Okay. I do a lot of hard work to prepare this data. You see, I've written a report doing it 5,000 times, firing some select queries. Intentionally, I've written these kind of reports, and that's something which is not possible for human to find in the system because the scale of the system is so big. If you go to your system today, you see there is a developer, there is a team of 20 developers, app developers who are continuously working day and night and building programs, building reports, and you will find it so difficult to find which program is causing a culprit, which developer is not using proper ABAP skills and coding it bad. System will tell you. Okay, no harsh feeling to any developer, no accusation, no blame game, but that's something a reality. What system is telling you, where is the problem and what you should do. System tells me, code inspector tells me there is a table which was selected, there were a couple of columns you selected, but none of these columns you've used. On the other side, my performance data is telling me that this is taking the maximum time, boss. What are you doing? You see this query here, select star from SCAR. It has taken total this much of dB time. What have you done? Yeah, yeah, it's a problem. Now look at the next one. Why performance dB check? Let's look at this. Double click on this record. On the left side, once again, you can see this is submit report is the entry point. It is telling me the time it has taken is this much. And same thing, now your code inspector is also telling your finding here. Select statement can be transformed. 7.7% of the fields are used. Let's go to the line number. And now you can see there are a couple of line numbers here, couple of findings actually. So select statement, this is the select statement. I double click, and once again you see this is the subroutine which I was showing you, which is making a call to a select query, and this is called inside a loop select and select, which is recurringly calling your DB table. This thing can be replaced, this whole thing can be replaced with an inner join or a subquery or for all entries, guys. Yeah, that's what you can do to improve the performance at this level. At least you know where is the point. ABAP code inspector plus your SQL monitor tool results together put into SQL performance tuning work list are telling you your exact backlog items which you need to really work upon. So this, if you make changes here, that's going to improve the performance in production automatically for your end user, because the impact of this is high as compared to something which you find and immediately start working on. Okay, let's go back, see some more. Let's see what else the amazing programming our developers have done. We have also something here in EPM aggregation that we also found it on the top, and this is based on entry point select statements, guys. These are based on select statement. Maybe now I don't want it based on select statements, I want it based on, let's say, number of DB executions, and execute it. So now it will tell you total number of DB execution side. These are all the reports, these are all the entry points which are causing the maximum time. So this is the program which is causing the maximum time in your production. And there are of course some more. Let's see this one, what it has to say. There is no code inspector finding in this, which means code inspector says that you've used all the standards in terms of performance DB, and that's the reason you also see only 1 DB execution. It didn't took much of the time, nearly about 1.41 seconds it has completed. So these are all the top ones you really need to work upon. Clear? Any questions, guys, about this topic of performance improvement? Now, can't we take result taken from the production using SQLM and use it in input here? That's what we are doing. That's what we did. We downloaded the result. We came to the development system. We have come to SQL performance tuning worklist. We uploaded the results here. We also choose a snapshot of our code inspector checks. Combining it together, we saw the results. Next question, do we need to upload the snapshot in SWLT? Yes, absolutely, Rahul. We need to upload it here. So maybe I'll show you one which I just created. So you say select snapshot, it will open your snapshots available. Now you can just click on change, and then you can create one new one. So maybe I can upload a new one. Let me just see if I can upload a new one. So manage create a snapshot, and now I can just give some name. So maybe today's date, like 19th of April, and then I can just do an F4, and I choose my snapshot from my local computer. This is the one. Click on open, and I say import this snapshot and create it. So this gets imported now, what I've downloaded from production, and I can just go back, and you can see it has selected today's date, 21st of April, what time it was created. And let's analyze with this latest data what it has to say. Execute again, and you see once again your SKR is coming on the top of the list. However, there are some more which is causing these issues. Yeah, you see, that's how you have to create and select your snapshot. Clear? Can you please show upload of snapshot? Yes, just now we saw that. Yeah, hope that answer your question. What are all the next steps in the process after the fixing the issue in development? Again, repeat this. Okay, repeat this cycle in production after transport. So you transport again repeat this cycle, again try to find, again improve, again explore. So until you get to a point, see guys, you need to balance. Too much of improvement in performance is also an over engineering. Okay, you got to balance between functionality and performance, but something certainly not acceptable, something which is like this, certainly not acceptable. This is a bad programming. It's truly a bad approach. This is not at all acceptable. At least I don't accept anybody writing something of this sort, where they just simply for fun doing select star. That to star they are doing. I could understand if he's just selecting one column, okay, but he's doing a star and none of the fields are being used in the program. I did not expected this from a developer. Even a 1 year experience or 6 month experience a app developer doesn't do this. Okay, so that's something which you got to find, and some of the things are very obvious. You will immediately get to know and get them corrected, and you will see then really a performance. I have seen the benefit of it in my S4 system, where they were actually doing a custom reports and they migrated to S4, and then they were saying with migration to S4 and HANA didn't help us. I showed them, did you check your custom reports? Are you really doing code inspections? Are you really doing performance tuning work list? If not, then don't tell. Why will SAP come and improve your custom code? It's you who is responsible for custom code. You got to put some effort. Look at these tools. You now have the right knowledge. Apply them in your productive life cycle, and then you will see the benefit of it. You can mesmerize your user, because users always seek performance improvement. They don't look at your code, how good you have coded, how much alignment you have in your code. Do you do pretty printer? Do you use modularization? These are code aspects which an architect would look at, but user will look at performance. User seek performance, guys. If you get a mobile phone, in that you get a mobile application, would you use a mobile application which takes so much of time? Would you play a game which hangs in the middle? You will not play, you would delete that app, right? Performance is important from user point of view, and doing these kind of analysis really certainly helps you in the production system. Okay, what are all the next? Any suggestion will be given by the tool to replace the SQL statement. That's what it is giving. See, that's your code inspector is giving now. On the right side you see suggestions from code inspector. Code inspector is telling you what to do. In one of the case you saw there is an improvement. You see 7.7% fields are used. You did a select star and it selected like 30 fields, 40 fields, and only 3 fields you are using. Why are you doing select star? That's your ABAP experience now. That's your ABAP experience. Select star is bad in HANA, guys. Very bad in HANA. Don't do that. SQLM should run before DB, non-HANA also. Yes, absolutely. All these tools which I'm showing, they're all application server level tools. Okay, guys? They're all application server level tools. Okay? They are not the tools of the HANA DB. They are up. You are still at the application server ABAP level, guys. Okay? You are ABAP level. So all these tools works for ABAP irrespective of databases. Now, all these steps followed only for HANA. As I told you, any ABAP system, be it on any database, you can follow this. Any difference between these two? No differences actually. Same question again, repeat. So it works on all DBs, guys. All DBs. But for HANA specific, you know, star is bad. Don't use a star, guys. Okay. Cool. So that's it's the end of unit for performance tuning work list and performance tools and code inspection in ABAP on HANA, or generally in ABAP, what you should do ideally before migration to DB. That's what you should do, guys. We'll take a break for 2 minutes here, and then we will continue our discussion with EPM data model. So right now it's 20.6. I will sync up once again at 20.9. Thank you so much. Let's break down and come back. So there is a question from Rahul here, that which system are we going to download this and which system are we going to upload this. So let me go a little bit basics on ABAP architecture. So typically in any ABAP system in your company, whenever you're working in a company, you actually have three different systems. One is your dev system, then next is your quality system. Okay, this is called queue system, and then you have a production system. Okay, yeah, I understand, Roja, you're right, but let me explain it once again so that people can understand. Now these three are your different systems, which means each of the system is having their three-tier architecture. So it also has its presentation layer, a SAP GUI with which you connect, and it also has its own database. Okay, so it has its database. It could be, let's say, HANA DB. Okay, now this quality system also has its own database, and this production system also has its own database. However, in production you need bigger data, so it's maybe like high volume of data and bigger size, bigger resources, bigger powers in the database. So that's a typical landscape of a system. You develop always in dev system, you release the transport, which then reaches to the quality system, and then when the quality system you release, you test and release, it reaches to production system. This is a typical three-tier architecture and a landscape. We call it as landscape, not three-tier architecture. So one single this snapshot is one three-tier. So this is one three-tier, this is second three-tier, this is third three-tier. Now, which is the system in this landscape which is used real time, which is used by your final end user, where your users consume your software? Anyone? Production is the system where your users are actually consuming your software. Whatever you're developing is consumed in production. So which is the system for doing the analysis for performance, real analysis of performance? Which is the system where you should do? No, production is the real system, not quality, because quality doesn't really have, it's only for testing purpose. It doesn't have real data. Real data is kept inside the production system. So your analysis should also be done in the production, guys, not in quality. Clear, everybody? So we have done an analysis in production, but where is your code getting analyzed? Where are you building your code? Anybody? You're building your code in dev system. So where do you run your code inspector to find out the performance issues, probably, which could cause statements which could cause issues? Of course, here is the place where you run your code inspector to know what can cause an issue, what is a good programming practice or a bad programming practice, that you run it here. Now, if you run a code inspector and it gives you like 2000 reports, it tells you these are all 2000 bad reports, will you change everything? Will you change all 2000 reports? Do you have time to change all of them? You're working on a stiff timeline, your migration is planned next week on a BAP on HANA or whatsoever it is. Do you have time to change all 2000 reports? Even you work day and night, you won't be able to. Now you need something to be able to analyze and tell me what is used the most. The thing which is used the most is what I'm going to touch and change first, because that's going to impact majority of the users. So you will now do a SQL performance monitor tool, SQLM, run here. You take a snapshot and download this snapshot in your local computer. It's a packet. You downloaded this packet. Now it has performance data, or it has statistics, the usage data actually. What is used the most and how much time that thing is taking. Now you want to know out of these 2000 which is the most used ones, where you need to now analyze, where will you combine the data for code inspector and this usage. Would you do it in production? Where would you do this? Of course you upload it back to the development, and now after uploading back to development you use something like SWLT, and this SWLT take the data from SQL monitor, plus it takes the data from this snapshot. It combines both the data and tells you out of these 2000, I would say these 20 are the top ones, and these 20 have findings which you need to fix, which you should look at. Clear everyone? Did that solve your problem or not solve the problem? Is that clear, Rahul? Rahul, I want to hear from Rahul. Is that clear? Because he was having this doubt.
Yeah, yeah, no, actually, just it's just 2 minutes. Like,
So where the
suppose
database come
my
into picture actually? Database has no picture here. It's all doing in application layer actually.
yeah, okay, okay, fine. But one of my client is planning to migrate from ECC to HANA.
Mhm.
So they are looking for the custom code adaptation. So that's why I got a doubt in this how we are going to do. So we planned in a such a way that running this SQLLM in the production of the old ECC system
Yeah,
and uploading it in the new HANA system.
obviously. See, let's say today you have a report program which your users are using. After migration, will they stop using that report?
No, they won't stop.
They won't
My
stop.
doubt is
So
where
functionality, the way it is there today, is going to be used same way in, even after migration. So this data is important for you even before migration to know what is used the most.
yeah, that is what my question is. This will be run before migration, right? This SQLM,
Your
right?
choice. Once again, it's your choice. You want to do it after migration, because see, you are not yet on HANA DB. Even you find some of the things you can't do a code push down using CDS views. You can't do a code push down using attribute views. You can't use HANA features yet, right? So
Okay.
sometimes it's good practice to do it before migration, okay? But the real power which can come into picture when HANA DB is available, and you can do more. And that's what our next subsequent section of this course is talk about. We found out, we explored, we found the problems. Now next step we will look at how are all the different ways to do improvement when you are on HANA DB. Okay, what are all the different ways to do improvement in using HANA DB. So now ideally you should do this activity before your migration. You now have a top priority what you need to look at and improve, which would also help you to improve, because you know you should not use star in any of the case. Don't use lazy programming models, and then you can improve it in your current DB also. It's going to give you an improvement, guys, these things. But the best improvement comes with HANA-DB when it goes to HANA-DB. And then there are new techniques which we will learn in this course to improve more. So let's move on now to our used case. What use case we are going to build in this. So many of the students, many of you have asked me, Anubhav, will you give me or showcase me some use case in our training, which I can project as a which I can tell in interview as a project I did. Yes, of course. When you go for interview, you can tell this as a mini project which you did on a BAP on HANA. Okay, you can also convince the
Uh,
interviewer that you've done this. That's the
Anubhav,
use case we will be taking. Yes, please.
how long this should be run? I mean, this should SQLM should be run for a week or for a month, because I saw in one of a web on I mean like Open SAP that it should be run for quite some time. I mean like
So
2 months or something.
if you run it for 2 months, then the whole purpose goes away. You should run it for the phases, for the clear phase, for which is the phase which is most critical for you, and that's clearly written. You see in this document which I shared with you, how long it should run. That is also answered here. You see how long it should run. SQL monitor be activated. See, it's written in the document, and they are clearly telling that this should be executed or run in principle during after a certain period of time. It should be switch off after a certain period of time, and you should clear on date on data you want to analyze. If you, for example, want to optimize request for your normal production and let the SQL monitor automatically run through the monthly close phase, the aggregated data of your normal production request may get blurred, which can have negative impact on final analysis. So there's an important phase in your company and you don't run SQL monitor in that phase. What will happen? You missed out that data. Actually, you should run it the most important phases in your company. Them identify, talk to functional people. They know it better, which is the most critical week for them in the business. Maybe year end, like in India, we have March end, the most critical week for the business. All the banks, we have a financial year closing. That is the time system has the maximum load, and that's the time I can really take out some quality data out of system to analyze and know what is critical for business. Can I do something about it? And you see, it's well documented. This document I already uploaded, guys, into our training blog. You can download and go through it. A very well written document explaining everything, so much of detail. Very, very helpful for you to understand. Clear, everyone? Okay, so now let's move on and let's look at our EPM data model. What is EPM data model? As I mentioned, we are going to take up a practical scenario, a real life scenario, which you can project as a minor project which you have done in a company. When you're going for a BAP on HANA interview, technically speaking, there are very few people in the market who has some experience with the BAP on HANA and S4 HANA. However, you want to definitely get into some project or recommend yourself to a project. What will you tell in interview? What have you done? Usually the first question which they ask is, what kind of scenario have you worked? So this is the scenario you can easily quote in the company, saying that what you can actually do. Okay, so let's note down here, what is EPM data model? What is EPM data model? EPM stands for Enterprise Procurement Model. Okay, Enterprise Procurement Model. So I am coming to it, don't worry. I'm not starting with use case. I'm first explaining you what is it, the reason behind this EPM model. So we all in our life have done some purchase or sale. I remember in my schooling days, I have installed a small candy machine in my school. So we all have done purchase or sale or some kind of goods and services in all our life. We all go to shopping malls. We do a lot of shopping in malls and do a lot of stuff like that. So we have done this in the past, and that's exactly this business model is based on. Enterprise procurement model is a very famous training data model available in every ERP system, every NetWeaver system. It was introduced from 7.4, I guess. I'm not really remembering, but yes, it's at least there in all 7.4 and above systems. This includes a model company named as ITEIO. It's a company which is selling electronic products on internet, just like Amazon or eBay. Yeah, just like the shopping company Flipkart in India. So all like these companies, this company is actually selling products on internet. Now what this company does, they don't produce any product themselves. What the Flipkart or Amazon does, anybody knows what an Amazon does? Does Amazon produce own products, own electronic products? Does Amazon produce laptops? Does Amazon produce mobile phones? No. What they do is they have a supplier. They have a vendor or a supplier who is supplying the product. Amazon is just a channel partner who is channelizing, who is selling the products on behalf of suppliers. There's an actual supplier vendor who is supplying these products. Amazon is taking care of storage into their warehouse and also taking care of supply chain management and customer relationship management of these products. So on one side, Amazon have something called customers. We call them as business partners. These are nothing but customers who registers to this company called ITEIO. Okay, and these customers, what customer does? Anyone? what a customer does. If customer wants something, what is that customer will do? What do you do on Amazon? If you want to purchase something from Amazon, what do you typically do? Anyone? What do? You order. So these customer would actually create sales order. Okay, they will request for sales order. And there are wide range of products available with Amazon. So you have in this company products. Yeah, it has products. This company also has stock information. So they also have something called stock information, where they're storing all the information about what is the current available stock of each and every product with me. So whenever a sales order comes, the sales order comes with, can in one order you can only order one product. Anybody on Amazon, when you shop, can in one order, can you only and only order one product? No, you can order multiple products. What is each product called which you are ordering in a single order? What do you call in the world of ERP? It's called line item, right? In the world of ERP or SAP, we call it as line item. So each product which you order in a single order, it includes line items. Okay. So it has line items. So an order received by ITEIO. Now, first thing which ITEIO does, it checks its stock. Is the product available? If the product is available, then it informs the customer that yes, I'm going to release the product to you. If the product is not available, what it does? It has to now buy this product or get this product from somewhere. For that, what it has to do? It has to create a purchase order. Purchase order to whom? To the supplier. It does a purchase order and it says, I want to purchase maybe some 100 laptops or 20 mobile phones. So that's a purchase order. And once the supplier receives the purchase order, and for supplier point of view, this purchase order is converted to a sales order, because for him it's a sale, for you it's a purchase, but for him it's a sale, right? So now what it does, the supplier has to now look at his stock or her stock and then accordingly supply the product. So what will they do? They will do a billing. They will send the bill to ITEIO. They will do the billing, and then the product, once it is shipped, they will do billing and they do a shipping. And this is shipping is actually nothing but post goods receipt. You have received the products which was shipped by the supplier to you, so you do a post goods receipt to update your stock, to say, okay, I received now what I ordered from you, and you release the payment to the supplier and you do your business again with the customer as usual. This is not a Amazon like model. Amazon actually directly supplies to you, just keep some commission in the middle, but it's more like a typical, trader type of trade company, which is doing selling their products across the world. uh, they have a dedicated loyal customers and buying these products from somewhere else and just trading them these products. Now you have purchased 20 laptops. Okay, let's say you ordered 2 laptops, 3 mobiles, and 10 pen drives. Yeah. Now, when the ITEIO receives your order, it receives these line items. Now, what if they don't have any of these products available? It so happened that these products are not there. They got to now release a purchase order. But they can also tell you that at this point of time, since I don't want to lose the business from you, I want you to be my loyal customer. So today I may not have 10 pen drive in my stock, but at least I have 2 of these items available with me. So is it fair enough to say that I will release 2 of the line items to you today and you wait for next 5 days, you're going to get this 10 pen drives once I procure them from supplier? Is it fine to keep this customer loyal, to keep this customer, retain this customer so he doesn't go and purchase somewhere else, just to engage him, keep the topic warm and release half of the order to this customer, and saying that thank you so much for your order, very appreciate we appreciate it, and at this point of time we have these two products available, we are shipping them to you. However, these 10 pen drives will be coming next week. And that's what this company does, multiple shipment approach. So first shipment which they release to their customer, they now do a post goods release, right? So your post goods receipt and post goods issue, now you do post goods issue, you issued the goods to the customer. Now what you do along with it is an invoice. Now invoice is something which you do for a product which you have shipped. Can you do an invoice for 10 pen drive? Anybody? Can you do him an invoice for 10 pen drive which you did not send yet? Of course not. He will say, what waste thing you are doing? You're asking me money, but you have not given me the product, right? So this invoice, can this invoice have equals to, can the items inside invoice are greater than or are greater than the order items? Is this possible? Anyone? Do you think invoiced items are greater than order items? You ordered for 2 laptop, 3 mobile, 10 pen drive. I am sending you 20 mobile, 30 laptops and 45 pen drives. Of course, it never happens. So always the number of items in the invoice are less than or equals to order item. Clear everyone? What is the concept of invoice and post goods issue? Is this clear everyone? Invoice can have less number of items as compared to order items, or it can be equals to also. Is this business model clear to everyone? This is called enterprise procurement model. Is this model clear? Very much in real time. Many people come and ask, Anubhav, will you teach real time? If this is not the real time, what could be the real time, guys? This is something which we all can easily understand, relate it with our real life. That's the reason SAP introduced this EPM data model. Now, where is in SAP system all the data be stored for these things? What do you think? Where will you store all this order, line item, invoice, goods received, products, product text, suppliers, customers, business partners, purchase orders? Where will you store? Where do you store all this information in SAP? You're going to store it in database tables. So let's explore the database tables where these informations are stored in the system so that we can go ahead and explore these tables later on and write some productive use cases on top of these tables so that we will be able to achieve a real-time use case. I'm going to showcase the real-time use case as well in today's class. So let's first look at the list of database table. Remember guys, all these tables belongs to EPM data model. And remember, this is a training data model. Okay. It is not should not be used for productive purpose. If your company is on NetWeaver 7.4 and above, definitely you will find these database tables. These tables are there in your company. You can use them. Okay, guys, you can use them. However, don't panic. There's a good news for you. Any distortion of data, any destruction of data, or any loss of data to this table doesn't harm your business in your company. Clear everyone? Completely training data model. No productive usage of the database table anywhere in your company. So don't worry, you can easily go and practice with these database tables, the BAPIs or whatsoever we're going to use, all that is with for training. So that's why I say those who have company server already working in companies with S4, you can use their existing system. Don't opt for server access additionally, because we are going to work with EPM data model, these training data set and training data model. So no problem, no harm, no bad impact on your actual business, actual functionality in your current system in your company. Now in your company, it may so happen that data inside these tables are not there. So there are tables which I will explain you in a minute. Now there, if it may so happen there is no data, so how do you get data to practice? Because ultimately to build a scenario, to build a real-time use case, you need data, right? So वो कैसे आएगा? That I will explain you in a minute. Let's look at the DB table first. All the tables starts from SNWD star. That's a namespace. All the tables start with SNWD. The very first table, SNWD underscore PD, it's the product table. Okay, it's a product table. It has all the product data. Then SNWD underscore text. This has product texts, descriptions. Okay, language specific product descriptions. So if you all know the text table concept, who will tell me what is the text table concept in ABAP? Anybody? What is the concept of text table in ABAP? Who will tell me? I need real ABAPer in the room, guys. If you want Anubhav to give you best out of Anubhav, please participate in chat window. Otherwise, I will lose my interest in teaching you. Believe me, I don't like in a batch when only I am talking. I want to hear from you. Yes, it's a table which includes language specific description of data, description of data. This is what I teach in my basic ABAP course. This includes same primary key plus an extra column called SPRAS, which is language key. So the primary key of this text table is the actual table primary key plus SPRAS, which is the language key, and makes it as a unique combination for every language the texts are stored. That's text table concept. I assume you all know as an ABAPer this concept, that there's nothing related to ABAP on HANA. This concept is there in ABAP since many years. When I started learning ABAP in year 2002, that was the time this concept was also there. We used to learn it since it's been like 16-17 years I'm being seeing this concept. Now, next table, SNWD underscore sales order table, which contains all the sales order information. Then as I told you, for every sales order we have line items. So SNWD sales order underscore I table, which is actually line item table. And then we have SNWD underscore, we have next table as invoice header table. Whatever invoices you are creating, they are getting stored. Sales orders gets converted to an invoice later point of time in the real business. As you can see here, a sales order was received. You have taken this order from customer, and finally you did an invoice to the customer. An invoice is what customer will use to make the payment to you, right? So when you want to buy something, you get an invoice, right? कि कितना देना है मुझे. So that's an invoice actually. When you do a supermarket purchase, you go and you do a billing, right? And there you are putting all the products and they give you an invoice. Okay, boss, this is what is the total you got to pay. That's an invoice actually. So that's it gets converted to an invoice. Okay, I'll come to the question. Just hold on, let me complete this. I will definitely take your question on this EPM model. Let me complete it, guys. Very important for me to complete. Just let me complete. I'll take up your question. Just 1 minute. Okay, so where I was, yeah, so this is invoice header table, and then SNWD underscore invoice items table. That's an invoice items table. There is another table called BPA, which is your business partner table. Very important table. Business partner. Who is a business partner in your company? Your customers are your business partners. Your suppliers are your business partners. So in this table, all the customers, all the supplier information is maintained. Now you'll say, Anubhav, are you crazy? Supplier and customer, do we mix supplier and customer? Yes, we mixed up here. It's a single table which stores the information of both customers and suppliers. How do you differentiate? There is a column called BP underscore role. If this column value is 01, it's a customer. If it is 02, it's a supplier. That's what exactly stored in this table. Both customers and supplier combined together in this single table, business partner table. We also have business partner addresses table. So business partner address table where business partner address is stored. So these are all the main tables we are going to use. We are not going to look at any purchase order scenario at this moment. We are only talking the customer and the company relationship here. So that's the main scenario of our focus. This is the area we are going to work. So that these are all the tables which will be important for us to remember for real time OIA scenario, open item analysis we call it as. I will tell you what is OIA stands for. In a minute, I will explain you what is this scenario for. We will look at it. Now, time for your questions. Please shoot up your questions regarding EPM if you have anything. Please go ahead. This is CRM field, right? It has nothing to do with CRM field. It is purely a simple demo project, a demo data, demo sample tables so that you as a layman person can also relate to it. You as a developer can relate to business scenarios. Now you can imagine whatsoever you like. You can relate it to production planning, materials management, business warehousing, advanced planner optimizer, FI, controlling, CRM, PLM, SRM, transports and logistic management, PM, DM, QM, anything you can relate. It's your choice. I don't have anything to say. This is purely a demo purpose. A concept of EPM was built so that you can demonstrate the power of NetWeaver, power of ABAP on HANA. And that's why we will be taking this demo scenario available in all SAP system. What's the purpose of EPM model concept? Purely for demo purpose. In your company, if you want to build something, you got to start somewhere. How do you do learning? Learning is important, right? How do you practice ABAP on HANA concept? You need some tables, you need some data, and that's what EPM provides you ready made. You don't have to spend now time in building tables, building a business case, building everything. You have all it ready for you. Only thing is build your use case. On top of this use case, do your implementation. That's it. Yeah, that's why EPM is used. Now more detail about EPM if you want to understand, there's a nice document which I uploaded in our training material. You can see NetWeaver enterprise procurement model and introduction. Watch out this training guide, very helpful if you want to go so much of deep understanding this. Very good guide, actually very well written. And in this, if you just go in, you will see this picture which I've drawn, actually inspired by this diagram. You see this ITEIO. On the left side you see customers, on the right side you see suppliers. You are doing a getting sales order, you are sending invoices, you're doing a post goods issue and post goods receipt, you have products in stock. At the same time you're releasing purchase order and getting invoices from your suppliers. That's the EPM, enterprise procurement model, business model, a demo data model for training purpose. Clear everyone? What is EPM data model? For EPM, can we do SPRO? Yes, if you go ahead and create a SM30 maintenance table maintenance view for one of the table, you can go and maintain SPRO settings, but not at all right now in our context. Our context is we are application developer, we are not customizers. Okay, clear everyone? So just go through this if you are interested. However, whatever I taught you about EPM is more than enough to proceed with our use case. So let's talk about our use case. What is the use case we want to address? Let's take a Mr. James use case, I call it as. Okay, it's called real-time open item analysis scenario. I call it Mr. James use case. That's a hypothetical character which I created myself so that you guys can understand things. So my teaching style is very unconventional. I always create hypothetical examples and things so that you can remember. Okay, you can remember things. That's what I typically do. So let's imagine in a company, the same company ITEIO, you have a guy working in a job profile and he's working as an account receivable accountant. Okay, so there is a job profile in a company, account receivable accountant. Can anybody tell me? You are all developers, of course I cannot expect the answer from you guys, you are technical people, but can anybody tell me what is that a typical account receivable accountant does in a company? Anybody, any guess with functionality? I'm going more closer to real time now. This is what you all need from me, and that's what I'm going to give you. Real time, guys. Real time. Every time I hear this word real time, this is what I'm going to give you. Real time. Billing receipt from customer. Very good answer. That's what this guy does. This is a guy who is responsible for a lot of things. Let's explore into this job of business receivable accountant, what this guy does. So his name is, in the company, employee name is Mr. James. Remember this name, very very helpful, so that you can remember this scenario. Okay, so Mr. James is the guy who is working in company since last 14 years. Okay, he's a mid-age guy, brown hair, blue eyes. Okay, very well settled. Okay, having two kids. That's a Mr. James profile. He's working in this ITEIO company since last 14 years. He has given a lot to the company, very loyal employee to this company, ITEIO. What does he do? Okay, his main job is to track defaulters of the company, the customers who bought something but they didn't paid me back. They didn't paid me for my goods which I sold them. So main function of this guy is to find out who is paying their bills. These companies selling products, there are customers who are not paying them, who are not, who probably can go into default mode, defaulter. Okay, so what is that exactly the goal? So let's look at the goal of the company. So cash plays a very important role in a company. In a company, we all know the importance of cash in a company or in our personal lives as well. It plays a very very important role in a company's running business. It helps company to run the business day-to-day operations. It is in the best interest of a company to collect outstanding payments, I would call receivables, from the customers as quickly as possible. Just the way Anubhav collects fees very fast from each of his student. Okay, same thing, as quickly as possible. Now, by quickly turning the sales into the cash, a company can has to put its cash back again, ideally in the business, or reinvest to increase sales. So as soon as I will get my money, I will get my profit, I can think of aggressive plans, right? We all do that. We, our hike is around the corner, we get more hike, more money, we can plan more things, we can buy car, we can buy a lot of stuff, mobile phone. Yeah, so same thing for a company. As soon as they can collect outstanding payments from their customers, they can plan the reinvestment and increase their sales. They can plan marketing campaigns, they can give good offers to their customers so that attract more sales. Yeah, all that they can do. Now, Mr. James plays a very important role in this company since last 14 years. So, Mr. James is an account receivable accountant in this company whose main job role is to manage the cash. Typically, search, display invoices that are overdue and also exceeded a predefined and customizable threshold in terms of days or amount, right? If I sell something, today I sell maybe a pen drive. Is that a big money for my company as compared to I sold refrigerator? Anyone? What is having bigger amount, refrigerator or pen drive? Anyone? Refrigerator or pen drive? Refrigerator has bigger amount, of course. So do you think I run behind a customer who bought refrigerator to collect the payment, or run behind a guy who bought a pen drive of 150 bucks? Of course, I need to look at the guy who is actually is purchase a refrigerator. I need to as fast as possible collect that payment first. And sometimes also the customers who have not paid since long days, बात गई रात गई, right? ज्यादा दिन हो जाते हैं तो पैसा नहीं आता है, right? I've seen many of my students, they take courses and after like 2 years, who is Anubhav? Yeah. So it happens. That's a human nature, completely fine. So if there are too many days pass, what happens? People have tend to forget to pay their outstanding, and maybe you don't know the situation of the other guy. He now may not be in a situation to pay his bills. Okay, so now that's what a very critical job Mr. James is into. His job is to find overdue invoices which are overdue since a long period of time, maybe in terms of a days and in terms of an amount, and classify the customers based on the risk of non-payment. It may be possible that a customer may default completely. 3 साल पहले की बात है, मैंने कुछ बेचा, आज कस्टमर को याद भी नहीं है. Okay, so it could so happen. So cash is very important in a company, guys, and we need a guy who run behind these customers, or at least tell me what's going on. He should be able to call up the customer and say, hey man, are you going to pay your bill or not? What are you doing? I gave you this refrigerator two months back. You still not paid your bill. The invoice is already been sent out. I've sent you 3 reminders as well. Right? That's what exactly this guy has to do. And then there is another process called dunning. What is dunning? Anybody in ERP? What is dunning? It is about sending the reminder to customers who exceeded a threshold. Like usually when you buy something, you have payment terms, right? Pay within 3 days. After that, penalty will be applicable or interest will be charged. That's a payment term, right? You go to admission for your child in the school. What school says to you? Pay the fees of the child before 10th of every month. Otherwise, extra fees will be charged. That's a payment term. So what the school does, or what a credit card department does, if you don't pay your credit card bill, anyone, what does the credit card bill department does? What does Airtel does to you when you forget to pay your bill? They send you reminders first of all. Before they charge you right away, they send you reminders. You get a message. Your MX bill is due on this date with this amount. Please pay. Ignore if already paid, right? That's called dunning process in real time. See, this is a real time use case, guys. We're gonna build this use case for Mr. James. Okay, so Mr. James has a lot to do, and all the data is there in the software system in your database tables. So can you help him, guys? Will you be able to help him to fulfill his job function properly? What do you think, guys? Can we help him? Can we write some ABAP report? And I would say an optimized ABAP report which does this analysis based on a customizable threshold. So Mr. James is not the only one in his company, in his department. His department also has Barbara. She also works with top-notch customers, but she has a different criteria. to classify, right? Possibly, right? She's working with more top-notch customer. So would you send a reminder to a customer who is very loyal to you so frequently? The customer whom you know, you have a relationships like last 10 years, would you find like sending reminder to this customer so frequently the way you do it to a new customer? Of course not. You are afraid of losing a loyal customer. I also don't do it. There are some of the students who take every single training which I offer. They don't care what they see. Anubhav is launching a new course, whether it is relevant for them, not relevant for them, they go and chase that course. That's what they do, because they trust me and they are my loyal customer. And many of such students, I don't even send reminder because I know them. They are so loyal to me. I don't send them a single reminder for payment. They already know my account details. I know that the payment is going to come one or the other day. I don't even care about them. But however, if you come as a new student to me, don't know you. It's first time I'm doing business with you. So I got to follow up with you. And same thing you guys also does the other way. You don't know Anubhav. That's why people put 50% of the payment, and then the remaining 50% they keep it कि अगर जाएगा तो आधा ही जाएगा. पहले इसको पढ़ाने दो 50%, then we'll see, right? That's fair enough. You don't know, and then over a period of time our trust builds. And then when the trust builds, you feel like, acha Anubhav, okay, no problem. This is what happens. So the Barbara, she worked with top-notch customer. However, the criteria is different for Barbara to classify the customer. Now, can Barbara and Mr. James go and change the report program every day themselves? Will they go and change your ABAP code to find out and classify customers based on their own criteria? Do you think it is feasible for them? Do you think they can go to your development system, open your ABAP report which you write, and change the value of the threshold value every day based on the criteria they have? Answer is no. Rather, you should make it customizable. You should give a customizing option where they can maintain what they want, and based on the maintenance what they do, you're gonna classify the customer for them based on their user ID. Clear, guys? Is this requirement clear, everyone? What is the business requirement here? Real time use case. Okay. What is the real time use case? Are you all clear with the requirement? That's the requirement we're going to build. Now, what is the best way if you don't know how to solve a problem? Can anybody tell me the golden rule? If you are stuck in a situation, in a programming situation, or in a complex example which you got to fulfill, or task which you have to fulfill, how do you solve a problem? What is your approach? Let me see everybody here in the room. They all have different approaches to solve their problem. If you ever stuck with a problem in your company, coding challenge I'm asking, not family problems, what do you do to solve a problem? If the problem is complex, what do you do? SDN. SDN. SCN. Okay, no, wait, you will not find solution of this problem on SCN. If the problem is complex, what do you do to solve it? Discuss with other, analysis, discuss. Okay, flow logic, very good. What else? I'll tell you guys, there is not a problem which you can't solve. Do you know the golden rule? The golden rule, when you don't know, this is my golden rule which I always use. When you don't know the solution of a complex problem, break it down in pieces. Okay, break it down into pieces, guys, and that's what we're going to do. We will break this complex problem down into pieces. जब सारे पीस क्लियर हो जाएंगे तो you will easily be able to build this. Okay, when all these pieces are crystal clear to you, you will be able to build it. You can't build a diamond necklace. Okay, you can't build a diamond necklace with one single diamond. You got to connect all these small tiny diamonds together and build the whole necklace or the set. And then the sparkle which it comes out of it, it's amazing. So break it down. That's my golden rule. I don't know, many people say SDN, maybe will say Google. This is my golden rule of solving a problem. We're gonna break down this whole problem into pieces, and you will see with me, we will build this real-time use case completely throughout the course. Different techniques I'm gonna teach you: information modeling, using CDS views, using SQL scripting, using OIA scenario, using bad programming, using good programming, using open SQL. We're gonna do this in the entire course, step by step, with lots of examples. Same use case, I will show different techniques to address in the system and to be able to work with it. Okay, that's what we got to do. A customizable option, which an ABAP report, the solution should be ultimately an ABAP report which Mr. James or Barbara can run based on their own criterias, and it should classify the customers as possible defaulters and possible risk holders in the company. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. Any questions before we close? When will S4HANA setup be up? I am not sure. Somebody really messed up in the server. That's why I wrote a strong email as well today. I really don't know, guys. I don't know. The guys are working since morning till morning 9 o'clock. It was fine. I don't know, somebody have done something. That's why I urge you, please don't play with system. It affects everybody. It's my humble request. Those who are using this server, please don't mess up, guys. Please, it's a request from my side. I can only request you. Choice is yours. It is affecting everybody, including me. Today I have to start my Amazon server, AWS, to be able to demonstrate this, unfortunately. Otherwise, I could have showed this also, the SQL monitor in our S4 server. However, that's okay, part of life. Damage happens. We have a damage control system. People are already working. Don't think like we are not working. We are working since morning. Half of the people did not even go for lunch. They are still working towards it. Hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, we can make this up again. There's a problem with HANA DB. That's the reason it's not working at this point. Let's wait till tomorrow. Hopefully it should be up. However, in your company, now coming to the point, in these database tables, if you don't have data, what do? I have a solution for you. In our training blog, I have also uploaded EPM data RAR. This EPM data RAR has all the data in Excel sheet, and a gift from my side, an ABAP report, which will upload all these Excel sheets to your actual EPM data models. Okay, so in your company server, if you don't have data, you can download this epm.rar. It has a text file which is a report program. Put that report program in your ABAP system and put the files in a proper folder structure as per the report program, and execute this report. All the data will be uploaded from Excel sheet to your EPM data tables. Option number 2. Option number 1, use a transaction code in your NetWeaver system, ABAP system. Transaction code is SEPM underscore DG, data generator. DG stands for data generator. This transaction code will be able to generate everything, all the test data automatically. Let me show you in my Cal server. Remember guys, this is Cal server, not our S4 server. Our S4 server is still down. So I'm showing in the Cal server. It's there actually in every system. So I go to DG and you see here, this is the data generator. You can generate test data automatically to your EPM tables using this. Just click on generate purchase order, sales order. Just put like 1000. Yeah, just put 1000 and say execute. Okay, I will not say execute here in this server because already there. And go to purchase order and go to sales order, and here you also put invoices, maybe 500, and let's say put 300. Like this you can put it, guys. Okay, just put this number and execute. Invoices will also be created automatically in the data generator. And then you can go to SE11 and check any of the table. Let me see sales order table, SNWD SO, and just go and check the data. You will see the test data would be available like this. Hope it's clear, everyone. What is that we are doing? How to generate the data in your EPM tables. Again, I repeat, it's test data, test tables, not productive usage of this table in any SAP standard transactions. So don't worry, your users will not be affected. Okay, you can use this table, destroy this data inside this table, play around with the data in this table completely for training model, training data. So don't worry. Is that okay? Okay. So will these table replace VBAP table? No. VBAP table को कोई नहीं replace कर सकता. Even in S4 HANA, Mara, VBAC, VBAP, VBL, all these tables, EKKO, EKPO, they are there in every system. There are no alternative of those tables. They will be there. रहेंगी वो हमेशा, हमेशा रहेंगी. Don't worry, these tables are not going to replace those tables, and they're completely for training data. Understand that carefully. Understand, training. I'm repeating, it's training, completely training. This has no relation with real time. Okay, and no need to connect these tables to VBAP and VBAC. All what you need is already there. Sales orders, purchase orders, customers, partners, products. Try out these tables opening in your computer, in your company server. Those who have their own company server, try out. They will be there. Yes, just like SCAR, S flight table, right? That's also a training data model. This is more like real time. SCAR was like more real, truly training. Here it's more like sales order, purchase order. So you can relate it to your real work. That's why it's more close to real time. That's why we're going to use EPM data model. More information about EPM data model, you can go and refer this guide. However, I don't recommend you. Choice is yours. If you want extra deep dive, go ahead. Otherwise, whatever I'm teaching is more than sufficient for you to proceed with. Clear, everyone? So let's close today's class. See you tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day and goodbye.
Anubhav, one last
Yes,
thing.
please.
Anubhav, actually, earlier we used to use NetWeaver 7.3. After getting updated to NetWeaver 7.4, ABAP NetWeaver 7.4, we are able to see the one tab in data dictionary called DB specific. So how far it is different from the HANA point of view?
The tab will be there with NetWeaver 7.4, but you need to check which database are you running on. That is only relevant if you're running on HANA DB. And
We
how
are
do you
using
see if you're running on HANA
MS.
DB is what I'm going to show you in next class using HDB cockpit. We will also see checking the data of same table which you see in SC11 in HANA DB also. I'm going to show you that in tomorrow's class, how to check these tables which you see in ERP. Where will you find them in HANA? Okay.
But the database which I'm using is MS SQL.
They are not relevant then, those fields.
Means I didn't get you. Come again?
So the fields which you are telling, these fields will come naturally whenever you are using any NetWeaver system which is latest. These fields you will see them, but they are not relevant for you because your DB is not HANA DB. Okay.
Okay, it will be different from the HANA DB to the MySQL server, even though if it provides
Right.
the column store
So
and row.
yes, in MySQL, I think there is no concept of column store. So changing to from a row store to column store doesn't really make sense for you. You should ignore until unless you go to HANA DB.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question?
Fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
Anubhav, this is Satyajit.
Yes, please.
Uh, related to the code inspector, because as I remember from very beginning, there is a part in SE38 in program. Then we do a check, and there is the extended check and the code inspector. There is two options was available.
Right.
So now there is so now in and today we can see there is another SCI. There is another transaction code.
No, no,
They
no, 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 no,
implement.
no. It's the same thing what you see. Do it from SE80. Right click. You right click on the SE80 and then you do an extended check, right? That's what
Correct, correct.
exactly you are actually doing a check actually. That's what exactly you do. And same thing also happen naturally when you release your transport. If you have observed, you go to SE01, you click on a transport and then you click on check button in SE01, transport organizer. What it does,
Correct. Yeah.
it exactly does same thing. Okay, it does a
Yeah.
it does a code inspector check for, and there are some basic code inspector checks like syntax error should not be there, Data type mismatch should not be there. You should not have hard coded username. Some people code like if psi uname equals to my user id, then do this, right? So those kinds of basic sanity code sanity checks are being done with cts, and same with the right click and this extended syntax check option. If you want more deep specific checks for database performance db or functional db, you can do it using
Mhm.
sci transaction.
Okay.
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 And you can schedule
Okay.
these tests for nightly also. Sometimes you don't want to do it in daytime, then you can use abap test cockpit, atc. Atc is actually a way to schedule the tests. So you can create a job in atc, and then you can say I want to perform these checks on daily basis on my package, on my custom objects, to ensure that none of my developers are doing mistake. That's typically done by an architect. So who's architect? He's responsible for entire code quality of entire project. So it's his responsibility to configure an atc job which runs on nightly basis for all your objects on the package, and then gives the results to developer saying that boss, this is not coding standard. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Okay, great. So with that, it's a wrap. And thank you so much. See you tomorrow with the real-time use case. We're gonna look into also first time on HANA DB. If server doesn't work tomorrow also, then we'll use our cal server. Hopefully we'll try to make it work, but let's see. Thank you. Goodbye.